States of
America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we got through that. Okay. Thank you for coming, and to our listening public, thank you. I'm going to ask that the board allow me to change the agenda today. First thing we would like to do is do a moment of silence for all the coronavirus victims, as well as those who are suffering under its clutches at this time. We ask for this moment of silence, not only for the coronavirus victims and those who have succumbed to the illness, but we also ask for a moment of silence in unity for support of those who are within their family or their support systems that cannot see them, that cannot be around them, that are weathering this storm with them. This is a tragic time, but we are strong and we are Americans and we will survive. So would you please stand up and let's do a moment of silence on their behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. So, Dr. Cash, typically during this time, you would do your board recognition. I talked with the board, and we're just gonna, with consent of the board, we're just gonna change something a little bit different this week. And we thought that we should hear from each board member in regards to somewhat of a card, an inspirational card. If we could send it to you in the mail, or if we could say things to you. I'd like to start first with Hope Jason. She's at the top of the screen. Move forward to after that, Terrence Hurd. After that, Paulette Woods. After that, Jen McCosey. Then Lou Petrucci, Ann Revere, Vice President Ann Revere, and Paulette Woods, along finally with Larry Scott.
You forgot me.
Like to, oh, did I forget you?
Yes.
Who? Oh,
Kathy
I thought I said you after her. Okay, well, you come after Larry. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. Our two vice presidents are there as well, so they're going to come. Hope J, would you start it off for us, please, today?
Sure. So I'm speaking to Dr. Cash, but I also want to speak to your cabinet, your administration, and all of the teachers and support staff and everybody who is working so exceptionally hard during this incredibly difficult time that we're all facing. Dr. Cash, as always, I want to thank you for your leadership and for your guidance. I appreciate everything that you're doing for the district. You're an exceptional leader, and I know what an incredible, difficult time this is. Every day, I follow, I listen to Governor Cuomo, I listen to our county executive, Mark Poloncarz, I listen to the mayor, and everyone is facing incredibly difficult decisions. But as always, Dr. Cash, you're providing exemplary leadership, and I think that I've always been grateful for your leadership, but I'm particularly grateful for your leadership today. And I hope that you recognize that. And I also want to express my thanks and gratitude to everybody who is working so hard every day to fulfill the needs of our students and to keep our students' spirits up and to make sure that they're receiving the best education that they can under these very challenging circumstances. And I know that everyone is doing their very best to get that done. So thank you.
Mrs. Vice President Bakusi. Jennifer?
Yes, I'm finally here, guys. Sorry about that. I think this is a wonderful way for us to open, but I also feel like there hasn't been enough encouragement and gratitude given to all of the work that this district has been doing under your leadership, Dr. Cash. I have my go-to folks that I talk to all the time. I understand there's a lot more than just what the district is dealing with. Each and every one of our folks have families. So this is personal for a lot of people on top of what they're doing for 34,000 other children in this city. So my gratitude, 100%. I know what I'm going through on a personal level. I know that other folks are dealing with the same. And, Dr. Cash, your leadership is it's nationally recognized at this point, just in general. So please take encouragement from this, and let's get through this all best way we can.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, I think it was Terrence Hurd next, and that following. Oh, you guys have moved around on me. Okay, just move forward. Somebody moved you around.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say that I'm proud right now to be a Buffalonian. I'm proud to be in the city right now, and I'm proud to be with you guys. Dr. Cash, you've been first can't describe the hard work that you put in, how you've been a leader throughout this whole epidemic that's going with the city, how you been a leader to our teachers, our administrators, also our first responders. The scope of work that you have done is unprecedented. Something that was never expected, from a superintendent you have to address, but you came and met every need.
Terrence, talk closer, please. Just a little louder. Talk closer. We want to make sure he hears you. Sorry to interrupt.
I was saying that Dr. Cash, your work is unprecedented. You've been a leader not only to the school system, but to this community, to every member that's in this community, the residents that's in the homes. Help establishing the food programs to the education, to the health and wellness. These things we never expected, for all this to come out. Nobody did. But the way you stepped in and administrative staff, my hat goes out to them. About them so highly every single day. And also the work we do with our first responders. My heart goes out to them, and my prayers are with them every single day. We on prayer lines where we pray 4 or 5 times a day. And anything that the community has, we know that, the questions that goes forward, that you are still here to work with them. You don't have to do all this, but you are. And I'd like to say congratulations, and I'm proud to be here with you.
Thank you, Terrence.
Next board member, please.
Well,
I'll call out Luke. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I personally want to thank Dr. Cash, our staff, our teachers, and our administrators, our principals who have been working overtime and doing a yeoman's job to carry the school district into its transition to an online school system. I told the parents on the radio show that school is still in session. It's just moved online and you're in your homes. And I want to commend the parents too for their trying to be the teachers and trying to supplement. And I thank Dr. Cash for caring about the plight our parents are going through and knowing they need all these support. So thank you for boosting Schoology. Thank you for recognizing the parents have to feed the children. Thank you for recognizing that we are all going through so much, facing this invisible virus that is trying to take us out. Thank you for unifying us. Thank you for letting education continue. And I just pray each of your safety and that your protection. And I just say thank you to you. God bless each and every one of us and the board members.
Okay, Lou Petrucci next, then Ann Revere, followed by Larry Scott, and then Dr. Brown. Thank you. Sorry, Lou, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Lou. Staff, I can't hear Lou. Lou,
I can't hear him either.
Sorry about that. Please correct Lou. Can't hear you yet, Lou. Hold on. Testing. He said hit unmute it, Lou. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, we're gonna add, Lou, we're gonna come back to you. Staff is gonna get you on the phone and fix this for you, and we'll make you the last speaker, okay? Sorry about that, Lou. Dr. Revere, you're next, then Larry Scott, then Kathy Brown. Thank you.
Thank you, President Cotman. I wanted to say, I want our administration, our staff, and our teachers to know that I see you. I see the hard work you're doing, the difficult decisions that you're making, and how much you're extending to support us and our students. Dr. Cash, thank you for your incredible leadership you've shown us. You've always had our students' best interests at heart, and that's never been clearer than now. I appreciate all of your advocacy and the willingness of you and your staff to give us, in our district and our community, what we need at this time. I know how much anxiety and burnout is happening right now. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Ann.
Larry?
Yes, good evening. I want to say with high confidence that I am tremendously impressed with the leadership of our superintendent, Dr. Cash, the entire cabinet, right on down to building principals, teachers, parents, food service workers, nurses, everybody that right now is making sacrifices, has made dramatic adjustments to adjust to this very unprecedented event, this closure. This district is really, I think, leading the way locally throughout the state and probably nationally in how we have responded to ensure that we're continuing learning for all of our students, that we're providing meals to our families, and we're ensuring that everybody is having their needs met. And if there are questions, there's concerns, there's confusion about anything, that we're doing our best to address those and respond to those. And I think it needs to be said that at times there's a lot of uncertainty with what's happening. Every day brings a new set of events and changing events sometimes within that day. And I really am impressed with the diligence in being able to study, to reach out to others and make sure that we're making the best decisions, the right decisions. Maybe they're not happening fast as some people want them to happen, but that's part of what we need to do to make sure we're getting this right for all of our families and for our educators. So, and I think what gets lost in some of this sometimes too is that we have to realize that right on down from top from Dr. Cash on down, that everybody is dealing with this event, this pandemic personally in some way, and it's impacting all of us. And we have to remember we're in this together, and we have to continue to work together to get through this and hopefully get past it soon. So thank you to Dr. Cash and all of his staff and all of our teachers, everybody in the buildings, the work that you're doing and reaching our families and reaching our students. It's definitely felt and it's definitely appreciated.
Thank you, Larry.
Dr. Brown?
Good evening, Dr. Cash, esteemed board members and staff. Proud to be a board member, especially in these perilous times as we face and combat the COVID-19 pandemic. As Larry mentioned, we're all affected. I just lost a neighbor yesterday who succumbed to the virus. But what this has allowed us to do is to realize and appreciate the great leadership we have in one of the best superintendents this district has ever had. We can all agree that he's smart, he's empathetic, and he's sensitive. He understands the educational space, but he's also fearless. Dr. Cash surrounds himself with top cabinet members, know how to think on their feet despite this beast that we're fighting. The staff ensured that over 30,000 young people received academic packages, schoolers with laptops and other electronic devices, meals every day, twice per day per child, and teachers that connecting with their students, administrators and principals trying to keep a sense of normalcy by connecting with staff, families, and children. There are many examples that I've seen that children are learning, that learning is taking place throughout this district. I know that several students reported that teachers brought work to their homes. One teacher reported that she delivered 500 books to her students. There were examples of kindergarten teachers showing kids how to use television to learn their ABCs or different letters in the alphabet. Under Dr. Cash's leadership, we have proven that he's the forerunner, both state and nationally. We knew that back in March when this pandemic began, Cash decided to close the schools, and then other districts followed suit, suburban, rural, etc. Lastly, have we perfected this remote world and our new norm? Absolutely not. However, it will be the same after this experience. But I do believe that we have learned some critical lessons from this experience. Children are resilient. They want to learn. They enjoy learning. Many young people are making sure that their reports are completed and show their teachers that they have completed these assignments. Parents have had opportunities to engage with their children and identify the many strengths and or limitations that exist. We are going to take away some of the positive attributes and infuse them in our educational space because it's going to be different. Let's continue to communicate with one another, whether good or bad. And as our mantra states, we are all in this together.
Okay, so we're waiting for Lou. He has technical difficulty. I'll just give my greeting or my inspirational greeting, and then hopefully he'll be up. However, if he is not, at any point in time when he is able to speak, we want him to be able to share. Lou, can you hear me? Are you up? Okay, we can't hear you yet. Okay, they're still working with him. So we are in the times that no one has ever seen in this country and probably never will see, hopefully, if we're smart and the proper things are done. But our ancestors or old folks used to say back in the day, this too will pass. And that wisdom is to say that if you hold on and if you make the right steps and the right moves and make sure you're steady, that this will pass. This work is not for the faint in heart. And Dr. Cash, you have my empathy from the perspective that you are here, as so many other people, without their primary support system with them, their grandchildren, your sons there away from you. You shared in our last meeting that you want to hug your grandbabies. I can share with you that I have not hugged mine in over 30 days because I am afraid that I could be a carrier or that I have been exposed to someone who has the illness. Thus, the reason for these masks on tonight. We want, and I would encourage you moving forward to make sure that all your staff members, when they meet, have masks on, because we have to treat this virus as if it is that we either have it or we've come in contact with it. And if we do that, we can eradicate it. But the work that you're doing is phenomenal. It's not easy, okay? You know the song about Herman Frog, right? Said it's not easy being green. Okay, this virus has made green look easy, okay? So in moving forward, what I want you to know is that you have a united board who stands behind you and supports you. We are confident that you will do what's best for our children. And all we want is the same thing that you want, Buffalo at its best. Lou Petrucci, please tell me you can say something at this point. Lou can't say it, so okay, so we can't hear you, Lou, sorry. So Lou, we will allow you to have your moment later on. So Dr. Cash, with that said, I am going to turn it over to you to do the superintendent's update. There have been some questions about what's going on with the grades and all sorts of things, and I know you'll bring us up to snuff as soon as you can. So it's on you now, Dr. Cash.
Well, colleagues, thank you for your comments and for particularly commending my staff and all of the staff of the Buffalo Public Schools. You should be proud at this time. It's a premier school system, and you should always treat it like Sadie, great song Sadie. You only have one mother, and if you forsake her or if you're cruel to her, she still will love you, and that's what BPS is. Sometimes she takes the beating, she takes the derogation, but she's your greatest treasure, is your school system. And I'm glad that we are as one during this time. I really do appreciate your comments. It's moved me to tears, and I thank you. We usually start off our cabinet meetings each week with a quote, and we share it with each other. My son sent me a quote today, and it really moved me, and I just want to share it with you because it seems to express how many of you are feeling as well, and I think it sets the tone for tonight, and we'll proceed into our business. This is a quote by Etienne de Grelais. She's a French author, and here's what she said. I had to pass through this world but once. Any good thing, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any fellow human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Colleagues, I also want to begin the superintendent's update with probably 4 really important items that I know all of you want to hear about and hear an update from the superintendent about. But I also want to extend my greatest heartfelt commendations and love, frankly, for all of the people who are pulling together at this time to help our young people and our families and feel supported by the Buffalo Public Schools. There's so many employee groups, but I don't group them now. They're just all essential employees. They're all frontliners. Colleagues, our custodians did not hesitate to step up. We will clean our 28 schools that we serve food from every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will make sure that they have a hospital level cleaning each time that is done. So the custodians have been phenomenal. Our nurses have been on site at those 28 schools to offer medical support and advice to students and families while they're there, and to the members. Our principals have said, no, it's my school. I want to step up and be there to help lead if I need to on site Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And of course, they're meeting all the time to make sure that there's communication going on with their school community. The security team has been fabulous, led by Fred Wagstaff, but he's also worked closely with the Buffalo Police Department. Mayor Brown, Commissioner Lockwood have been terrific in partnering with us during those days for everyone. The food service workers, I can't say enough about Bridget Woods and her team. Really put their lives online when they come into work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, cook the food at the central commissary, make sure it gets to these sites, and they show up every day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, every time. They have not missed a day. And that is a huge frontline service. And of course, all of our teachers are reaching out. They're trying to make contact. Great majority that I hear from, I send. And of course, students are showing some great exemplars. And parents, rightfully so, they have anxiety around this issue. I can talk a little bit about that tonight. But many of them have also been brave and gone above and beyond to make sure their student does stay connected to the work and does do what he or she is expected to do. So everyone, only encouragement, only kudos, only brotherly love tonight is what I offer to all of you. And board, thank you for your support. And I know you're doing a lot out there to keep the spirits uplifted of all of your many constituents as well. So please continue those efforts. Now, tonight, there are 4 items that I'd like to give an update to you on. And I asked Darren Brown, Chief of Staff, to forward you an email packet that has some of these items contained so that I can just give you the main points. I think the first item I'd like you to look at is the letter that I've drafted for consideration. So before I send it out, I'd like to hear from you. If there's anything that I've omitted relative to overall picture at this time to all of our parents, and we'll translate it in at least 10 languages. That letter is not meant to be comprehensive on all the issues. What it's meant to do, though, is to say, here's what the week ahead looks like. Here's what Executive Order 202.14 has dictated that we do, so that we clear up any confusion around Friday of this week, Monday of next week. I've talked about what we are expected to do during this week ahead. And then I've also indicated, again, hearing from you, taking into consideration your many concerns about how parents are feeling, how students are feeling. I've decided time in which we make the grades or make the denotation for the 3rd marking period until April 30th. And what I would recommend that we do, because I have some ideas about it. I've had a team working on this for 2 weeks now. Before we make that go live, I wanted to make it feel like it's something we all have part in, we all participated in. I didn't want that to just be a directive that was coming from one place. So I would like to offer that the board create a 3-person subcommittee so that we can come up with a fair, equitable, appropriate grading or marking system for all students across all the grade levels. Doesn't have to be a uniform approach to all the grade levels, but we need to take the consideration of all the good work we have done. We've asked teachers for input to this as well, and principals. But maybe it'd take a week to do it, and that would help give guidance to teachers of what we come up with, and then that's what they enter for 3rd period, and then going toward 4th period, we'll have a track to run on. There are a lot of considerations, colleagues, to this issue. This is a complex issue. It's not just as simple as pass-fail for everybody, because it affects graduation. It can affect post-graduation plans for some, and we want to have a range of options. We even want students to be able to say, I would like to be, if I'm in this particular category, I'd like to receive a grade because I've been working really hard. I feel like I'm making A's, and I want that to be reflected on my report card, so forth and so on. So I have some ideas. we're not going to go deep into that tonight. The main thing I'd like tonight from that letter is to see if you would be able to draft that we draft a resolution after we work together in a subcommittee for the board's final deliberation and make a resolution of it. That's a bold move. That's a strong move, and it shows that we have collaboration and consolidation on that issue for our public. And I think we'll come out with something good, very solid, that everybody can agree to, and it'll be very, very fair and supportive of our students' best work. It will not be a penalty-based document. But I do want students to work hard. This is a time when you can go ahead, actually, you could. And then, of course, there are those who will struggle and not have all the resources to go ahead as fast and far as they would like. And then there will be some that just kind of keep up and are on point sensitivity to that range of continuum of individual progress and achievement. So in short, board chair and colleagues, having now probably read that letter, if you have any questions or comments or feedback for me at this time, I think talk about.
Dr. Cash.
Yeah, please say who you are because the audience doesn't know. So just, say that that's
the sentence
Dr.
I'm alluding to is one, maybe two sentences there, second paragraph from the very end.
Mm-hmm. This is
Do you have
Ann
a
Rivera.
subcommittee, whether your solution that comes from the board, or would you like me to continue to try to craft something for everybody? I just think at this time, at this unprecedented time, in the spirit of what you were saying, this felt more in the spirit of it to me. But again, and that's why we want to discuss it at this time. And then, of course, anything about Easter break or any of those things that you see in there of how I'm interpreting what the executive order is telling us to do for next week.
So this is Ann Rivera. Dr. Cash, I just wanted to say about the letter as a whole,
Colleagues.
It's clear. It gives the guidance. It gives a lot of guidance about what's happening and what we can expect. I appreciate the letter a great deal. The only thing I would say, I also appreciate your reaching out to us to see if we can help support you. I would be in favor of the subcommittee only if it's helpful to you and your staff. I don't want to create any more complications for you right now.
Does Larry, your fingers up.
Other colleagues.
Thank you. Larry Scott has asked to be acknowledged.
Yeah, Larry Scott, and I like the idea of a potential subcommittee, but I have the sense, though, that you and your staff have already researched this, have talked with, the big 5 school districts in New York State and others about surrounding this issue. And so I think, in my opinion, I'd like to see what you have already learned from your investigations, what the team has learned, and bring that to us, and then maybe from there deliberate on it as a board. The other things I want to say too, it seems with the Regents exams being canceled, that now grades are going to be factored in differently, or we need to kind of reconsider how we're grading, because now students need to have passed the course in order to get that Regents diploma. And then lastly, I just want to make it clear to the public that next week for the Easter break, that this is the governor that has made the decision for us to have to continue the learning and continue the meals. It is not Dr. Cash's superintendent. It is not the Board of Education here in Buffalo. It is the governor that has insisted that we do this. It's an executive order. And if we don't do it, we potentially could lose state aid. So very clear, I want to be known that it's not us that's making that decision. We are required to do it.
Okay, board member, if you raise your finger and I can acknowledge you with your hand so that I can see any other people who want to comment on this at this point. Board member Woods. And then Mr. Petrucci. Let's see if you back up.
Yes, Dr. Cash. I do think it's important for the staff and the parents to know that they are losing their spring break from the 14th to the 17th, not because we did anything that it is a mandate. That there is a lot of conversation. Unions are saying we're violating contracts. We need to let them know the governor supersedes, and that's not our choice. We were directed to do it. But the other thing is that we truly need to acknowledge and give some kind of relief to the parents. They are extremely worried that they are trying to be teachers without master's degrees, without the skills, and that they're failing their students. We need to send something to them to ease their mind and ease the panic that they cannot replace 6 teachers. They need to know that if their students were doing well before, that they're not going to fail because of the virus and the shutdown and our transition to online learning. That needs to go out to our parents. And whatever you want to come up with, if you want board input on, I would love to give you some questions and things that the parents are saying, so that you can, when you make the decision of pass, fail, or whatever is the best practice, that you do have the feedback from the parents that this board is able to give you. And I trust you to make a informed decision with our input.
Okay, Mr. Petrucci, can you speak now?
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Please send that feedback into us, Paulette, as soon as possible to Darren and CC me, okay?
Okay, Mr. Petrucci,
Wood?
how are you doing?
Yes, I will, Dr. Cash.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Petrucci, how you doing? Can
Good.
you hear?
Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to, because Mr. Petrucci did not get a chance to address the superintendent, I would like for you to, address this issue, but afterwards, we'll come back after this when the superintendent does his update, and then we'll let you address the superintendent as or other board members had after he does his update. Okay, Lou?
That's fine, Sharon. I just wanted to say that I think the letter's a great idea. I'd be willing to help on the subcommittee if you're looking for volunteers or if you need someone.
Okay. Next, I have Mr. Hurd.
Thank you.
Mr. Hurd, talk into the mic, please.
First of all, I would like to give my hand.
You're fading out, Mr. Hurd.
I would like to
Can
you hear me?
Not as good as we should. I don't know what's going on with you, but we're not hearing you. You're coming in and out.
Okay.
Okay, that's better.
It's better. Okay. I would like to raise my hand for the subcommittee, if possible. The thing is that, but I have a very biased opinion about this, though, because I just want to put out there that all.
Speak louder. You're coming in and out, Mr. Hurd. Well, let's wait a minute. Hold on. I don't want your words not to be heard. Whatever you're doing when you move forward, it gets better. I don't know what you're doing.
Let me put this up. Is that any better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'd like to say that I'd like to raise my hand for the subcommittee, but with saying that, I have a very biased opinion because I still don't believe that all our children.
You think he's covering the mic?
The ample opportunity to receive the proper materials, for education. Still receive reports that some children didn't receive tablets and some people didn't receive classwork or schoolwork. Parents are very frustrated about this, and I heard many complaints about parents who's, they're not teachers, but they come from educational systems that that didn't give them the best education during their time, and they're trying to teach their children. There's a lot of frustration within the homes, a lot of mental things that families are going through, and there's a lot of depression that's going on. I'm speaking with
He's
kids
doing something.
in mentoring programs, and they're exhibiting behaviors, that's frustrating with schoolwork, and some children just stop. So without teachers being there, I don't possibly see how we can give adequate grading level to all the kids, with all these different variations that's going on. And with other school districts that were able to give children these necessary supplies, I really think that some of our kids have a disadvantage, and to have a fair grading system would be impossible at this time.
Okay, Mr. Hurd. Mr. Hurd, just then we
Yes,
heard you the best. Okay, so whatever you're doing, Mike Lucci is going to get on the phone with you to try to figure it out. But when you pulled back, that's when we heard you the best. So we didn't hear you then. Okay, so they're gonna call you on your cell phone. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Who's next up? Who would like to speak? Anyone? Okay, Hope J. You have the floor.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I just wanted to know, Dr. Cash, are you going to specifically address the issue of the Regents exams? I know that we just received this very long, like 3 or 4 page frequently asked questions that was developed by New York State. I am assuming that's going to be posted somewhere in the district website, but I wonder if we're going to do something ourselves to condense that information and get it out to parents, because I've gotten a lot of questions about how this is going to impact their children.
Yes, thank you, Hope. Shannon Tahoe letter goes with that guidance. That 40-question FAQ is the long piece. The shorter, more condensed piece is her letter from Commissioner Tahoe, and she sort of summarizes that 40-question document. And then I have a team that's been working since we received that guidance earlier this week to make sure that we align and get all of our students and teachers who teach Regents exams courses to be making and following up with their students so that they can qualify and be on track to pass those courses. So we're working really, really hard. That's a priority for us. In terms of, I don't know, maybe a 1-page, are you thinking maybe a 1-page with several bullets that just get the main point? I'm not sure how we could be helpful. Give me your suggestion and we'll certainly try.
I mean, I feel like it's, a 1-page would probably be helpful with maybe a link or, a place for parents if they want to go to somewhere where they can get more in-depth, detailed information. But I think people are confused and panicking somewhat. And I know if I had a child right now that was graduating, I would feel like that. And again, like I'm not an educator, I'm not a teacher. I don't understand all of these things as a parent. So
Right.
How can we help the parents to feel like they're having a better grasp of these issues? Honestly, that's the issue that comes up the most for people when they're contacting me or has.
It's this grading issue, right?
Yes.
And how to get through the test. So colleagues, we're right on point with that. We have not neglected. In fact, we've made it a priority. So what I'm saying, one of the things that helps with that is that extension of this marking period to get the grades into a position and a format that's fair and consistent relative to our situation here in Buffalo. That's what that will do, because the marking period ends Thursday, and it was putting a lot of stress and angst into parents and staff and everyone, as you can imagine. Well, what's going to happen? My kid's going to lose ground. I mean, I don't really even know what's been going on. So it's all of that. I get it all at once, and we're going to sort this out in the next several days and up until the end of the marking period, extension period. So that will take care of that part. In terms of students who are trying to graduate, once again, we've made them a priority, and I have specific groups of staff working, and there's a lot of them, including each high school principal and guidance counselor and on, working just with the seniors, for example. just with those who are trying to get credit for Regents exams. And so all of that guidance and that clarity around those issues will be forthcoming in a series of communications from two parents, from our principals, from the district, and so forth. So that's in the making right now. And because it was coming up on a crunch and there was all of this anxiety around it, I extended it to try to release and relieve some of that pressure, if you will, while we work this through. So I'm confident that while we can't relieve all of the anxieties, because this is a tricky issue, there are no question that students are going to lose ground during this time, during this year. We've lost a lot of time. We're going to lose more time. And I'm just trying to do everything we can when we come back to reopen, that we have plan in place to mitigate any loss of time, loss of learning. So that's the plan in the works. But thank you for those questions, and we are working to address them. You'll see responses to that probably by the end of this week or the beginning of next week. Did you hear me?
Paulette's hand.
Okay, thank you.
Paulette Woods has an additional question. Is this related to this topic, Paulette, or is this something else?
No, it's the same topic.
Thank you.
Dr. Cash, this is going out over the radio station that the parents, we don't have a good mechanism of communicating with all parents and following up with parents whose phones may not be working, who have not logged on, that the weaknesses in our systems, our communication systems, are very apparent right now. And it appears to some people, and it's all over the radios, that we're not reaching, we don't have mechanisms to reach all of these parents or to follow up on the ones who are not being reached, the most vulnerable children. So I just have a suggestion to you, if you would take this in consideration, that to send something, a one-page something, a letter to the parents, but to send it to all of the churches so that the pastors who have 4,000 people logged on and can reach those parents can read your statement of our understanding of the parents' predicament, a brief something of this is how they can definitely get a communication from us, and something to say what you're saying about we're not just going to carte blanche fail everybody. I would love for the churches who are getting 2,700 people logging on to services where they're giving comfort to their parishioners, that they can read that one-page document to give some kind of information and solace to our parents, because we are being told, and it's blasted, that we're not reaching. We didn't have our conference to reach everybody. We need to reach people, and this is a mechanism where they're having my church is having 5 services daily, and I know other churches are having them. So that's a vehicle to get something out.
Okay, thank you. What I want to do, board members, is make sure that we stay on the topic we're on. There will be additional time in this meeting for you to address the superintendent and talk to him about his concerns. But if the superintendent is giving his update, he asked us to look at the letter, give him feedback on the letter, and the next he's going into step 2. Let's stay on focus with step 2, follow step 3, and then there will be plenty of time in the meeting to address any other concerns you want to, but I want to stay in order and stay focused on what we're talking about. Is there any other discussion on this letter that Dr. Cash has asked us to review? Pertinent to the letter only? Yes or no? Okay, if not, I'm sorry, Terrence, is your hand up or not? Up and down. Okay, yes, Terrence. Is it in regards to this letter, the issue that the superintendent has on the table?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I had to switch laptops. What I'm looking at is that I do support Dr. Cash's decision to find a way to move forward with this, and just so we can address some of the parents' concerns, the students' concerns. I do have a biased opinion about it, though, because
a biased opinion about the letter, parents? We're talking about the letter? You have a biased opinion about the letter. I need to stay focused and on the topic at hand. This is the superintendent's update. It's not the board members' time to speak. Okay, so I want to
think
make
he's
sure
talking
we're
about
addressing
grading.
this.
Are you talking about grading?
About grading, yes. It's about
Okay,
the
you're
letter.
talking about grading. Okay, all right.
Thank you, President. I have a biased opinion about it because all our kids wasn't afforded the same materials. You know, I keep on receiving reports from parents that they didn't receive, their children didn't receive tablets, or they don't have access to the internet, as for say. So with it's not being a level playing field, I really believe that we need to look at, you know, how are we going to look at our grading system, as Dr. Cass asked us to, and make it accessible for all kids, even other districts surrounding Buffalo. You know, they may have had opportunity to give their children, you know, it's different type of instruction. And I just want to make sure that our children are on the same playing field, you know, as New York State is, and that I would like to raise my hand to be on this committee, but we also need to look at some ways that we can make sure that everybody receives the exact same opportunity for education. Some of our parents are frustrated, you know, they have, you know, 2 or 3 children that's in the school system, and trying to keep up with all the work, you know, is a hardship on the families also. So that's just my opinion going forward, and just listening to the concerns of the parents and being a former educator here in the city of Buffalo.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hurd. Dr. Cash, please continue.
Thank you.
So let me just ask, okay, because I need a feel. Is the understanding that as a result of Dr. Cash's suggestion that there be a 3-person subcommittee from this board in regards to grades, is that you feel that you can offer a perspective that the superintendent has not, will not consider, or are we going with the suggestion that was made that the superintendent provides his recommendation to the board and the board comments as a body in regards to what they feel needs to be addressed? Which direction are we going into? It's what we need to be clear so that we can give the superintendent his marching orders accordingly. I'll tell you that personally, I feel I would like to hear what, as a result of sitting on the conferences with the Big Five, talking to people throughout the country, I'm sure he's used our other affiliate relationships to get additional information. And I would like to see what he brings before us, his suggestion. That's what I would like to see. That's where I am. So I need an idea of what other people.
I
Who
agree.
else agree? Put your hands up that agree. Okay, 1, okay. So the majority of the board agrees that, Dr. Cash, we trust you to bring forward to us what your recommendations are. And if that should mean that we have to have a special meeting to do so, fine. Are you comfortable with that, Dr. Cash?
Yes, that's the spirit of what I heard as well. And I do think that'll probably work better for you given this particular issue. It is a complex one, and we'll try to work through as many of the nuances while at the same time, you know, not making it overly complicated, and then bring it to you, and each of you can provide input, and then we'll finalize it and make it happen.
Okay, I like that. Thank you. Would you go forward with your next update, Superintendent?
Okay, the next update, colleagues, is sort of a continuity of learning continual, and we've begun to talk about it, but it's really exciting news, and I just want to make a point about one of the items that we're going to be rolling out next week. It should be with you, titled IT Packet. And again, I'm really, really proud of the work that our team has done in rolling out what's going to be our 3rd through 8th grade. Every student will receive a computer device beginning next week. We're going to roll it out over a 6-day period. Each level or tiered level will take 1 day. You'll see those red, yellow, and green. You see that in the 2-page letter? I got a letter that's going out to parents that you can review. And then I have behind that the schools, all of the pre-K to 8 schools and where they are in the city, with a red, yellow, and green designation. And what I told them to do, colleagues, I said, I want the highest need schools and the most fragile zip codes and populations of our students and families to get these tablets first. And then yellow is the next tier, and then green is the third one. So we've tried to do, that's not a perfect science, but we've tried to be sensitive to it so that the children who need it most don't get it last. Sometimes that happens. And so we've been very thoughtful. They're going to get tablets beginning next Tuesday, and we're sending out the parent letter. You see the parent letter there, and they'll have a time, a specific time for each parent when they should come in and pick up their device for their children. And so not only will they get the device, but they'll also get refreshed learning materials for another 3 to 4 weeks at that time. And we're trying to coordinate that alongside with the food pickups. So you'll get your food, you'll get your computer device or tablet, and then you will get refreshed learning materials for the next 3 to 4 weeks. I think that's big news, colleagues.
That's big news, Dr. Cash.
But logistically, it was difficult because there's 16,000 devices all over the city, and we had to coordinate where we needed to bring them, and now order and tabulate and make sure that the students get the right tablets and the family gets the number they need for their family. For example, Mr. Scott, and I don't know everybody's family, I think he would get 2, I believe, for his 2 sons. Ann Rivera, I believe, would get 1 for her daughter. See, and so forth and so on. 9 through 12 have them. If they don't have them, colleagues, they should let us know. I'm hearing that a little bit from Miss Woods, and it may be that we didn't have the right contact information, or we didn't have the updated cell phone or address. So board members, help us both ways with that. If folks aren't getting something, we have a helpline. I've told you all along, you can let us know, tell them to let you know, and we'll reach out to them. We'll connect with them so they get what they need. But anyway, that's the device, and that's the continuity of learning news that I think is very exciting. And that will begin next week. And then we'll have I said it's 6 days, 3 days is what it will take, but the last 3 days will come back to that red, green, and yellow, and that will be makeup days, meaning if you didn't get it in that first effort, see Terrence and everybody else, that's where you got to let us know you didn't get it. So now we got to figure out how to, and that's where volunteers kick into place. Volunteers, everybody will step up and make sure they're brought to your door if you didn't get it on Monday, those first 3 days.
Okay, Dr. Cash, yes, may I ask a question? Because one of the teachers asked me last night, are the children going to get is it going to be done school by school? And are the children going to get their actual devices that they've been working on? Because they're telling me that these devices, that these children know their devices. Is that going to happen? Like,
I believe that is the process. Now that I'm thinking about it, I believe that is the process. I may have misspoken when I said we're going to bring them to the 28 schools. No, the actual distribution for the devices are going to be all 60 schools will open for that purpose, and it will be that child's device.
And so, will it also meet and will that also fulfill the government's requirement, the governor's requirement in regards to continuing the educational process for that week? Will that will that make that happen?
Not that alone. Teachers still have to make the effort to connect, It's still in there to do what we need to do, try to keep up with our students. But we are going to be distributing that week. And then colleagues, along with that, and I know some of you have said that sometimes there's an overload of information, but I still wanted us to err on the side of too much and not enough. You'll see some very nice resources that we've listed of how to connect in once you get your tablet for different grades. So I think it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that, colleagues. And feel free to, again, let Darren and me know so I can talk to Myra Burden, who's just done a phenomenal job with her team to get all of these materials aligned, get these tablets loaded with good content and information for our students, so that as soon as they get them, they'll be ready to go. Now, it does take time. Look, it does take effort to learn about all these things, and that's why we've trained teachers on this. We've trained a lot of people on it, and hopefully, I think Myra has provided some tutorials where parents can work their way through this too. And that's why we put that student, remember that student, Rafiq, that he gave his own tutorial of how to get into Schoology.
Yes,
and it's
that was fantastic.
It's really a good little 3-4 minute thing that anybody can look into and get on. So we're here to help you. Our student geeks, we didn't call them that. Remember what we called them, colleagues? They were our student leadership technology team, and they were helpful with technology. They're on standby, ready to reach out and help kids and help parents in this. So we're going to have a lot of people available to help once we see what the need is. And there's a parent resource page that'll be part of this packet to help guide you. So all of that's coming.
Okay, Dr. Cash, in
That was
light
my
of the
second
fact,
update. So if you got anything else on number 2, let me know. I still have maybe 2 more.
okay, in regards to this, the continuity of continuing the education, is it possible to reach out to some of our community partners who have helped us in the past with illiteracy, and maybe that they can partner with us to help our parents who are not able to understand or read that? I'm thinking of some of our partners that have been our community partners for years, Read to Succeed and the other people. I'm just wondering if we can work that so that we can have additional supports for people who need help to learn how to navigate through this, because the parent is not at a level that they can understand it. Do you think that might be a possibility?
Without naming any specific, because that's a little different. That is a vendor versus a CBO. I was thinking more of a CBO, community-based organization.
Okay.
Then we certainly, I will talk to my student support services team and see if your suggestion, makes sense for that group. I think it does, but without committing, I would simply say that I'll follow up with that team and see how we can engage as many people without confusion, to try to help with this.
This is an opportunity for our volunteers to come out too, people who are computer savvy. I had Mr. Hurd's hand up first, and then Mrs. Woods. Please keep your comments reasonably brief, because Dr. Cash is not through with his, and you will have your open mic time at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, pertaining to this, Dr. Cash, I had spoken with, from your recommendation last week at the committee meetings, to Tommy McLean over at the Breaking Barriers, and we met with the Breaking Barriers group this past weekend. And some of the things that they're doing, because they do want to be part of the helping with the children, because we do understand that children mentor one another and they help one another. Some things that adults can't see or can't possibly, see the things or the complications or the stresses that they're dealing with. They reach out to one another. So the Breaking Barriers is willing to help with this. And some of the things that they're doing is every day from 12 to 12:30, and they recommend this for the schools also, is to have a time where the administrator can speak with the children and they can log on and talk to one another about their classwork and schoolwork that they're going through and stresses. How they set it up is that the administrators, they talk for about 10 minutes, and then the rest of the time they leave it to the children while somebody from the program we'll sit there and listen in, to the conversation of the children, and we can hear their needs from there. They use a Zoom to utilize this program, and it also utilizes student voice, so that they can speak out. And they also have a program, they're working with the seniors that's in the program, that they meet 2 to 3 times a week, on Zoom, and talk about their path, about, keeping encouraged about moving forward with the classwork and schoolwork. So Tommy McLean and the Breaking Barriers program is ready to move forward to help with this also.
Yeah, this is great, Terrence. This is what we're going to need to do more than anything else, colleagues, is we need to connect people to people, and let everyone have a part of this. And so I like the spirit of that, and there are many, many out there who are willing to help. And all they say is just give us a call or ask us, what do you need us to do? Now, thank you for that. One of the things I do want, colleagues, is we can never err on the side of having too much literacy support. So anything that supports literacy, when we give out these devices, I would love for your connections and your contacts. Let's get them, or let us know what they are, and we'll coordinate getting them out to the schools. Like somebody mentioned earlier, one teacher gave out 500 books. A bit risky, but she did it and should be commended for it. We need more books. We need good educational games, that kids can play that build their vocabulary. Scrabble was always a great game. But lots of games, a lot of fun stuff, multicultural activities and games for kids. That will help parents too, because while they're doing that, they're learning math, they're learning vocabulary, literacy, and other skills, other important skills. And if the donors could let us know what they can give, we'll make sure we coordinate that when we give out these computer devices.
Thank you. Mrs. Woods, you had a question? A comment?
Yeah, Dr. Cash, you made a comment about for us to let you know if there are students who aren't getting the materials and having the problems. When I said that on the Saturday morning show, I got a strong reaction from the parents saying that the school system knows if the children are logging on to Schoology. The principals know which children were already having problems. And if you can see that they haven't logged on daily or haven't logged on period, that it is not for the parent to call the school because they may not have phones or they're having whatever difficulty. It is for the principal to reach out to those parents because they know who is falling behind, who hasn't logged on. So I just wanted you to know that's the rebuke I got by trying to say, well, call us and tell us who's having problems. They said, no, you know you have the system.
Well, in fairness to everybody, and I hear that, let's just make it a both and. Let's make it a both and. Certainly what I've given the direction down to is every teacher knows who her kids are or his kids are. Every teacher. They have a class roster. And so the whole point of this has been, who have you reached? Who have you contacted? Who have you followed up and tried to contact again and again and again? And who has come online and responded out of your 27 students in your class? So they're right. We have that data, and we're checking that data all the time to try to get to 100% contact. It's not a perfect system. It takes time, and it's all about the effort both ways. It's staff and parents. So I like that you're going on these radio shows. I think all of you should get on and go. But make sure that you're emphasizing that the bargain always said from the very beginning that this is a 50-50 handshake here, at least a 50-50, and then maybe it's more depending on where we are in this whole game. So I think that if you have trouble, if you're having an issue, let's work to be part of the solution rather than, lamenting and complaining. This is not a type of era that we're in to be whining and complaining. Let's work to help. I'm a problem solver. You got something that I can help with and I know about it, I'm going to solve it. I'm going to solve it. So you turn those people over to us and we'll keep trying to get better. And you keep trying to get better too, parents. You keep trying to get better too. And we'll all together, the kids will benefit.
Okay, one other board member has a question. Luke Petrucci, for a comment.
Thank you very much. Dr. Cash, I heard you on the news the other day speaking about increasing the number of hotspots. I was wondering if you could provide us an update. Has there been any additional progress on trying to get our students some additional connectivity?
I don't have an update beyond the 2,200 that I have. What I'm trying to do, what we're working on, is trying to have Comcast, not Comcast, here is Spectrum. Spectrum and Verizon to help us with free donations of that. We have a survey that has gone out to assess need on that, and hopefully the news will be better than I anticipate. For example, I think it was Kathy Brown that had said that last week's work session that there were more people than I realized that actually did have internet service. And she also said that she had some data that she could share with us about this. So we're looking for the data, and then we will prioritize those places where they don't have them. But I've gone and tried to purchase these hotspots with the expedited smart school bond application that we submitted. They said that's a 30-day process. So, you know, if it comes in fast, then we'll be able to help better. But I do want to get that survey responded to so that we know exactly where the need is. We've had 150 responses so far. What you can do and what we'll put out information for you to share with your constituents on your Facebooks is how to respond to that survey so we know you need Wi-Fi or internet connectivity.
I know I'm sorry, President Cotman. Where is she? Karen?
Yes. Kathy?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was to respond. My staff surveyed 259 individuals last week, and out of that number, there were a small percentage of families who did not have access to Wi-Fi. So I'm going to say about 5%. It was very low.
That's encouraging. I don't know if that sample is, you know, random or representative, but it certainly sounds encouraging. But the more we find out and the more we know, the more we can respond. The mayor wants to help in this regard as well. He says there are business folks and organizations that want to donate money, particularly in terms of technology. And so if we can find a need and where it is, maybe we can call on those kinds of resources to help us in the short run to expedite the purchase of these hotspots.
Can I share that Say Yes to Education has picked up that issue as well, and that they are working with many of our colleges, and that they have formed a task force. And so probably within the next week to 10 days, there will be an update from in regards to the work that they're doing. They have some community partners who are willing to put forth some resources to help us, because we're seeing the common issue that we're having on Buffalo Public Schools as well as with our Say Yes to Education students. So know that that's being worked on. Larry Scott, you have something you want to share or talk about?
Just a quick question for Dr. Cash. Somebody just before the meeting began today reached out to me. He runs a small internet company, and he was inquiring about how he could help in bringing internet service to some of our families that don't have access.
Excellent.
Would it be best to connect this person with Myra?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let's see what he can do. Let's see what we can do, you know, appropriately. There's some rules, regulations, and all that around it, but I like the spirit of that, and let's see what Myra will have to say and get that connecting going tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank him or her.
Next, Dr. Cash on your list.
So,
Cotman?
Sorry,
So,
Dr.
colleague, I
Cash.
have one more.
Dr. Cash, I'm sorry. Terrence Hurd, you have something you want to say on this?
Yes.
Okay.
I have reports from a couple of parents, and listening to a DPCC meeting last night. They said that it's the same constituents to where the parents who have a past due bill from Spectrum, saying that Spectrum is not going to give them service until their debt is paid on their bills. And the reason why they lost service was because they couldn't afford the services anymore. or due to changes in the contract. So that's one of the issues. So we can try to identify some of those parents for hotspots. I believe that we should follow that track so that those homes can receive some type of internet service first.
Yeah, and I also think, let's reach out to the city. The city is a full partner with us, colleagues. And Mayor Brown has a lot of volunteers signed up for this. He has connections that I don't have. And we talk almost every day. And he's offered to be as helpful as he possibly can. So this might be something that the city could help with as well, colleagues. We can't do everything. We're going to try to do what we're in better and do it the best we can while we're in this transition. But we do have a really, really big, generous community, including the county. We're part of a county as well. And so let's make connections. Connect, connect, connect. That's the spirit of the day. I have one more item, colleagues, when you're ready.
We're ready, Dr. Cash. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Colleagues, this item arguably is the priority concern for all of us now. I want you to turn to the, I think I had it as a 6-slide deck, if you will, that Jeff has prepared through my direction on the budget and the budget for the for this year and for the budget that was just voted on by our New York delegation and the state legislature about a week ago. You'll see some slides. I'm just going to make some of the main points on this slide. From this presentation. You can look at this and study this at your leisure, a little more detail. As you can imagine, we're working night and day to try to figure out how to approach this. This is just coming out of what we interpreted from those runs from last week and all of the fine print. We're staring at an 89.9, essentially a $90 million deficit. And we have to balance a budget by June 1st. One of the reasons why I get concerned and have mentioned it before with this 2-week at a time notification from these executive orders is it doesn't really ever let us go into full planning mode for the remainder of the year and into next. The way I'm thinking about our work now, colleagues, is this year, the remainder of it, and next year is all one year in my mind. They're all melded and welded together, because coming through this and on the other side of this, which is a big unknown of when that will be, I just see a huge need for services to our children before they would even start, hopefully in the summer. But I don't know what it will be at that time, whether it be safe to gather again. But before next year, there's going to be a lot of makeup and catch up and support and, remedial work, really, for many students, not for all. Many will go ahead during this time. But this budget is a mess, as has been indicated. We knew it would be. Governor said they don't have any money. Federal government is supposed to help, but that check seems to be perpetually in the mail. So we're going to have to figure out how to do this. That's not an assignment I necessarily want to give to you. That's sort of our work. That's my work, and I always have taken it on. But you got to consider it. So one of the knowns is that is what is happening now. He did not just cut the budget, he cut from flat. So whatever we had as a budget this year, he cut 29.5 million out of that. And then was going to make it up with this CARES portion of the federal stimulus, the first federal stimulus relief or emergency disaster relief bill that came out. So that's just the big picture. Now, if we knew we weren't coming back for sure, colleagues, I could start to chip away with that. We could probably save by just freezing the budget. We could probably save about $30 million for the remainder of the year, because certain services that we normally would be providing, we wouldn't be providing because school's not in. Then that would cut it to 60 million. And then we already have all that the schools need in that calculation. We have all that the division head need, the divisions are asking for. We don't have your priorities as a school board in that 90 million. So that would have to go on top of that. And then I'm just being as creative as I possibly can to try to cut down and get us into a range. If I can get us into a range of 20 million or so, then I probably would recommend using the balance of that from fund balance, because we're going to have to use fund balance to balance the budget this year. And it's going to be higher than any other year, is what I'm going to recommend to you for clear reasons. But I do have these knowns and unknowns, and it's very, very tricky. It's a moving truck, colleagues, because the governor basically is going to pull all that money in, and he's going to control it. He'll control the disbursement of it. He'll determine whether revenue comes in higher or lower just at the end of April, for example. And he'll make an adjustment to our foundation aid further from that. So if revenue falls further even now than anticipated, this aid could be cut even deeper. So the 89.9 is just what we know now, and it could continue to fluctuate, likely higher. I hope not, but that's what I'm understanding by all of the fine print inside of this appropriation that was passed last week. The other point I wanted to make is there will be likely impact on other revenue sources. The city and the county, don't know how that's gonna shape out. But I imagine that they'll be struggling as well. And then this, as you can see on that second page, we'll just have to adjust some of our timelines from the normal course of business. But you can see there that I've asked team to get together and propose. We need to start having some special meetings just on this issue between now and the beginning of June, which I think we had an extension to be able to try to balance our budget from the state government to June 1, is my understanding. So over these next months, what is it? April 8th to June 1, this is our main priority as far as, the team that's working on this. This is a priority for you, priority for the team that's working on this. We'll be doing all these other things that we've talked about, but this has to get winnowed down and thoughtfully so that when we come out of it, we have a stable school system. My goal, colleagues, is to get it at least back to where we were when we closed. That's going to be a heck of a charge, but that's my goal. That's my vision. That's my goal. I hope you support us in that, because that would be a win. If we can get back to where we were, that would be a win. But it's going to be difficult because of this jolting deficit that I anticipated, but I didn't think it was going to be quite this bad. So we'll work through it just like we have in many other cases. I really, just like you appreciate teachers a little better, I hope you appreciate people like Jeff Pritchard. He's kind of a one of a kind, and he and I share similar values. My mother was frugal. She did not waste one penny, Miss Woods, not one penny. And so that's how Jeff is. You might not even get a penny from him, but the bottom line is he protects that dollar for the children. So we're going to have to work together. I'm going to keep it as transparent as you possibly want it. But here's the one caveat that I want you to really appreciate. We are in a better cash position than most school districts in the country. We found that out on a Council of Great City Schools call that I'm on each Thursday. Everybody is struggling now. They're in deep, deep cuts. One school system not too far cut over 800 positions in 1 year, had to cut 800 positions, colleagues. And so we're going to try to come through it without that kind of hurt. But what we got to be careful of, because we're facing very stiff competition from the charters. They're working overtime right now to get our students as we speak. And so there's two main concepts here. Students drive revenue. If student enrollment goes down, revenues go down. And FTEs drive cost up. So if more FTEs you hire, the more the cost, and then more the gap between your expenditures and your revenues. So those next slides that I provided try to show you over time how our enrollment has gone down in the last 10 years or so, from a high of around 34,000, and now we're down toward closer to 30,000. And meanwhile, we've added a lot of FTEs. We haven't sort of kept that in balance, and we know why that is. It largely is driven by rising special education demands and needs, and also, you know, a lot of students are returned to us with the highest need. They come back with higher need even than before they left. And so we need a bigger and more robust, talented team to support their needs. But that picture can't continue to go like that, and you expect that we would balance any budget. So I give you that slide to show you the overall picture. The next picture I think is interesting and helpful because it simply shows where the growth in FTE is for each of our major employee groups. And as you can see, for most of the groups, it's been pretty flat, colleagues. It hasn't just been a willy-nilly growth among all employee groups, among all the bargaining units, and on and on. It's only been two areas, and those areas are justifiable, I think. I don't think they're not justifiable so far. So that's not a bad picture on the slide where you see the general fund FTEs by bargaining unit with all other on the left axis. So the left and right axis, I think, is very helpful to show you where we have grown, because that's where the money is going to be at the end of the day, colleagues. It's in your people. It's in your people. So we have to be thoughtful about this. And then the last two slides, I just think, again, and we've been saying this for quite some time, you know, special education, it's a need, and we get it. But what you don't want to do, which I've seen in other districts, is you don't want to get what we call upside down and become, you know, a special education district by default because you haven't been thoughtful about what really is best practice, what works best for students, and how to support students, maybe in innovative ways you haven't even thought about. But what we can see there, and since my time here, is that our growth in special ed has, in terms of dollars, has increased, but so has our numbers increased. So that's not a necessarily inappropriate slide. You see how those numbers, that yellow, I'm sorry, the orange and the blue slides look a little more aligned. That picture is responsible, see, and sound from so far. But we can't continue to see those costs drive up, because I frankly think we just have too many 611, you know, the most or the least inclusion classrooms all across the district. And they really have grown exponentially in just the last 3 years. So we have to balance compliance and support with sort of a runaway expense if we're not carefully monitoring it while we looking at a $90 million gap at this point. So those are sort of the main points, colleagues. You can study this. I didn't mean to bring it and then you make all kind of decisions tonight. There's no decisions for you to make. It's just a sense of where we are, because our team has just started to understand the magnitude of this gap. I'm confident that we can whittle it down. I don't see a way clear today to say we can get to zero or, get to balance, but I think we can get quite a bit out of that over the next couple of days and maybe into a week or two to bring you where we are at this time. And I think you'll feel at least more encouraged at that time. But what does hurt us is this: every 2 weeks, we don't know kind of what we're going to do. And that's why I said that part would help us more. I know I could get 30 to 40 million saved if I knew that we, we're going through the year. And then I'd start to put money and resources towards summer school, which I think all the children are going to need some sort of summer school support. And that's going to be a big cost, more than what we normally spend, but it'll be a good cost. It'll be the right way to spend and support our students. May not all be brick and mortar even, because we're learning how to do some of this through online approaches. But I want to reserve and save money for that kind of presentation that it should come before students start back to school. I don't want students starting back to school in the fall and be way, way behind. That's just a bad education scene for everyone, for teachers, for students, for everyone. And so every week our team is working to try to not let that happen. All right, I apologize for going on a bit there, but this is really one of your main functions as a board, is to oversee fiduciary responsibility in the fiscal health of the district. I don't want us to get into a position where we have to cut hundreds and hundreds of staff and lay off folks. But that's the picture for a whole lot of school districts. What we want to do, let's stay on what our kids and families need the most, and then make sure that they have it. So thank you for your attention to this item.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. Do any board members have any comments, or can we move forward? Thank you for the superintendent's update. As promised, Lou Petrucci, because you had phone problems, we want to hear your inspirational thoughts on behalf of the Park Schools District.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I just want to thank and acknowledge all the hard work of all the district employees, from the superintendent to the staff, to the teachers, to all of our building support, to the people who prepare our meals, to the volunteers who have helped to deliver them as well. It's been outstanding. And it speaks really to the character of the district, and when we're challenged, what we can achieve. And it's truly been inspiring to see everyone go out and to maintain the level of high academic achievement that we expect of all of our children and all of our employees. But leadership starts at the top. So, Dr. Cash, it's been your leadership that's been driving the district. It's our principals at the school level. It's our teachers at the classroom level. And it's our parents and guardians who are at home giving children instruction. And like many of my fellow board members, I've heard that the instruction has actually increased that kids are home, that many of them feel that they are getting a very robust level of instruction for those that are participating and doing all the things that their teachers have sent home. Kudos to all of our teachers also for the creativity. Kudos to our support staff for to be able to mobilize and to get the entire district, 36,000 students plus our charter schools, all up and running remotely in such a short period of time. I mean, it's truly an inspiring effort on everyone's behalf of the district. So I just wanted to just say thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. And it's not going unnoticed. We appreciate all that you've done so far. Thank you again.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you. Okay, normally during this time, we would do our comments from speakers. Because we do not have staff currently in the boardroom, we certainly don't have anyone who's here to answer the phones. Staff is receptive, or we're receptive to receive any ideas as to how we can move forward with the speaker part of our agenda in the future. One idea was that people submit a question or their concern in a concise manner within X amount of words and the board address it. I'm not sure what you want to do, board. I need some guidance on this. It's something that you can think about. We don't have to decide today. We have another meeting in a little over about 4 or 5 more weeks. So I just need some feedback on what you might think. If you have any opinion on it, I'd like for you to share. If not, maybe you can send it to our secretary, our chief of staff, Dr. Brown Hall, in regards to that. Does anyone want to go on record with that, or they'd like to wait? Okay, so we'll put that on to another day. Moving forward, I need a motion to accept the previous board minutes, and I need a motion. Someone please motion it, because I've got to write it down. Terrence Hurd. And, or did I get two? Okay, can you second for me? Can you first it, Lou? Okay, and second? Hurd and Lou. Okay, I got Lou, sort of hard to see. Lou, and second by Hurd. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, are there any nays? No, so we will move forward. In regards to the committee reports, does anyone have anything that they would like to share at this point in regards to committee? Or we will hold that to our next meeting, since things have been a little out of order. Okay, from what I'm seeing, no one wants to report. Good. In regards to consent agenda, may I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Who was that?
Second.
Paulette
Who
Woods.
moved it? Paulette? Second
Yes.
by Lou? Okay,
Madam
all in
President.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any nays? Okay, no nays. Concerns about the consent agenda. Let's see what was brought to my attention. Paulette Woods was the only one that brought it. Does anyone else have any? Please let me know. 17C, progressive roofing, roof replacement at school number 53. Is that your concern, Paulette Woods? I see Mr. Petrucci, I see your hand is up. We'll come back to you. Paulette Woods?
Yes, my concern was that we have all these reports on every one of our bids that show that our MBE, WB efforts seem to have failed or stalemated or stopped. We clearly have on all of these items that, yes, MBE, WB does apply, but the participation is either zero, little, or none. And then the amount awarded is zero. And my question was, what are we going to do to change this record, unfortunately, of stagnation or failure? And that roofing project with $1,265,000 for a school in the city of Buffalo that doesn't even appear to have any MBE, WBE subcontractor. They waived, the minority participation was waived. I just want an answer on what has the purchasing and law department done to improve our MBE advertising input. I need a progress report because this is very discouraging.
Oh, okay, so Dr. Cash, is that something that you can talk about, or you need to bring it to a committee?
I had Rick and Jeff and Darren. I believe you have an initial response to that item.
Yes, I do. Hi, Dr. Cash. Hi, board members. And I did speak to Ms. Woods about this earlier, and I appreciate the opportunity to share it with the entire board. When you look in the board packet, we after these contracts or these board recommendations are awarded to the bidders after the bidding process, they actually have to commit to the affidavit that they signed, and it's also included in this board packet. So Progressive Roofing signed the affidavit that they would commit to our goal of minority workforce of 25% and a female workforce goal of 5%. So when you look at the chart, Ms. Woods and board members, in the packet, those companies list who they have on staff full time. When they take on projects like this, we ask that they work towards our goal as a district, our MWBE goals. They sign off on that, then it's incumbent upon us, if you remember the discussion that Stephanie did at one of the work sessions, it's then incumbent upon us to make sure that they are trying their hardest to reach those goals. And we have to follow up with them on that with their good faith efforts. So that signed affidavit is in the package also.
Paulette?
Do we have any method of monitoring actual results from that? Because other than, I think you guys were actually putting the report, MBE reports on the bids.
Absolutely.
But that's just terribly telling us that the efforts so far is 0, 0, 0. So we do need something to say who's monitoring. Do we need to get a contractor? How are we going to actually get to some results? Because I need to be able to say to the community that is paying these taxes that there is some hope for them to have some businesses and hiring and some economic development out of this. So this is a big deal for me.
Right, and I don't want you to jump ahead too far because this project hasn't started yet. So again, once this project gets started, it's incumbent upon us to go back to Progressive Roofing to see how they fared with our MWBE goals, and we have to hold them responsible for that. So this project hasn't even began yet.
Are you okay, Ms. Woods? That's sufficient?
I think we're going to need more details on how we're going to monitor to get to monitor progress. Because right now I don't see it.
I suggest you bring that to your committee since it's finance and ops. Next person is Mr. Petrucci and then Mr. Hurd.
Thank you, Sharon. I just want to make a comment about 11A. This is our pre-K providers. I see that the funds were redistributed and that many of the organizations that need pre-K services are going to receive them again, even though that they will be administered by a different group. But the important thing is that these groups and organizations and their surrounding communities, particularly for my district, the Valley Community Center, will be having pre-K services in the fall. So that was good. I just wanted to thank staff for that.
No, I need to be very clear on what this is. This is not for the fall. This service term is this school year that we're in. So this is always, these board documents for pre-K are approved prior to the school year starting. At this time of year, we get the actual numbers of students that these vendors have serviced, that these CBOs have in their enrollment. Then we reallocate the dollars. This is not for the fall. This is for this school year. It's a reallocation of the funding based on their enrollment of their confirmed enrollment for this school year. This is not for the fall.
Oh,
are they providing reach out services, Darren, at this time to these families, even while we're in the closure period?
You know what, Dr. Cash? I will find out what exactly they're doing with their families. I will definitely find that out.
Yeah.
I think that's the question for the board, if they're asked to approve this.
I agree with you, Dr. Cash, on that. We should hold them accountable, all of our educating resources accountable in some way. Terrence Hurd, you had an issue?
Yes, I have two questions. One question was about the NWB status. That was, I believe, back in December at the board meeting, we talked about putting a calendar, and I believe the board agreed upon having a calendar set aside for all NWBE bids that will be coming up in the future. And I'd like to know where are we with that, presenting a calendar with all of the bids that will be coming up throughout the year. And secondly, on 17A, I'm looking at the international efforts that we're making to address global language issues. My question with that is how I'm having a lot of parents, they're talking about that through School 45, the Lafayette School, is that they're not getting as much attention as they need, for our ELL students. And how can these programs address the issues that we have today? The the ones we have contracts with already, because there have been quite a few calls coming from our language challenged students and families about getting to work and actually understanding the work and completing assignments.
Mm.
Darren, did you
So
catch that? Because
I think I caught part of it. What you're saying is that parents at School 45 are complaining to you about not receiving the necessary services?
I have received complaints about not receiving all the services, about understanding the work, completing the work, because the parents in the homes are English language challenged themselves. And when it
So
comes
what-
to the work, go ahead.
And see, that's odd, because that's one of our schools that the multilingual department has supported a great deal with all of the services that school gets. On top of that, Jessica Bauer Walker is one of the parent advocates for that school, and we know that she stays on top of the district, making sure that the services that school gets are in line with the services that they need. So to Dr. Cash's earlier point, I would definitely encourage you to have those, if we can get the information of those parents so that we can reach out, because what we want to do is make sure that we provide the necessary support to those schools, because we know that principal and the administrative staff is very active in that building, as well as the multilingual staff. So I was just having a little bit of difficulty with that one.
Okay.
well, I hear you, Terrence. Let me respond a little bit to it, okay? Because I think if some parents say that they do have a challenge, or if you're getting that communicating to you, then it's legitimate. But let me just say a few things that department has done during this time, you know, and we can continue this both and. It needs to go both ways. So we've translated more than 90 documents for distribution to our ELL families. We've established a multilingual helpline for families requiring translations. We have this tool called Talking Points, where it's a two-way communication tool to reach our families. ENL teachers are contacting families and students weekly. This goes out through the principals in weekly bulletins. Journeys In coaches contact families to provide support. We have virtual drop-in centers for remote family support sessions. And then there's about 5 or more bullets. My point is, we have started this. If there's more that needs to be done to create a highway so that parents who are ELL family feel, you know, completely supported and feel better about it, then we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to do that. I always recognize that we're just starting this and building the airplane, as you've heard the phrase so many times, as we fly it. And so we just want to make sure we can direct the families to the right resources. I just think Nadia and her team do an excellent job, but they are the kind of team that will reach out one-on-one to families to help. So please, and once again, let us know who these families are. Tell them to call the helpline or tell them to email Darren, and we'll make sure that they follow up and they get a follow-up communication.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Jennifer. Okay, Jennifer. Do you have additional?
The first question was concerning the calendar that was supposed to be set for the NWBE statuses for any business coming up. We talked about having placed on a calendar and having placed on the website so that everybody, no matter whether you black, white, a woman, a minority, that they can have access to it and see visually, you know, what bids are coming up.
Yeah, I think that was a good idea. I'm not sure where that landed. Do we know where that's landed? I thought Rick was working on something like that, Darren. Can you help me?
You know what I did, Doc? I made a note of it, because I myself do not remember that, but I did make a note of it so I can follow up with Rick. I know one of the things we had set up, the board had asked, was when we do those community meetings, and we had them set up for the first week in April, and of course we had to cancel them. So we did have those calendared, but I will look into that, making sure that there's a calendar of when the bids are coming up.
Yeah, I remember them asking for that. It's not that hard to develop that. Let's make sure we follow through with that, okay?
Yep.
Okay, so Jennifer hand is up in regards to this issue. Yes, Jennifer. Vice
Thank you,
President.
Sharon. So I just wanted to make sure that folks are aware, if there's a lot of different parent groups and a lot of different communication that seems to be going around especially in the West District, within Lafayette, within 45, within School 30, School 3. All of those groups now are trying to kind of condense into, different populations talking to each other and then reaching back out to the district. So one of those things, it's not just reiterating the fact that please let folks know, but there are different populations who just don't speak to other populations just due to the fact of, not knowing the languages, whatever. But there is serious bridges being, built between schools, between parent groups, between populations, between leaders of different parts of these 86, 87, languages that are spoken, especially in this one particular area. And also the community schools in Say Yes have a very deep connection to what the communication to the Buffalo schools. So I encourage anyone who receives anything from, especially those key schools, School 30, School 45, the international school names have changed to depict the gravity of the diversity and then also the beauty of the diversity, right? So I do know for a fact that there is amazing work being done in my tour of the schools. It is when I share with everybody what has been happening and how it's been happening, I'm amazed. So if we can encourage parents that work is being done and not just being done, the community is coming to the table. And I do want to reiterate that Jessica is a huge asset to not just 45, but to that community as well, because she knows, where these different bridges are being built in order for everybody to communicate. So it is a true issue, but trust and believe there is mad work going on around it. And, again, reach out to the district, reach out to the Say Yes coordinators within those schools to see what kind of information they're getting, because they're communicating directly to the BPS as well. And that's where Nadia and them, I believe, are getting a lot of their guidance from and where to, work with Dr. Cash in order to make things happen. So I'm not saying that to be rebuttal, Terrence. I'm just saying that to make sure folks there who hear this know that, the English language learners are getting, it's priority, especially in these schools that make it priority. So please connect those folks who are talking to the district, to Say Yes, to these groups, to Jessica, and let's figure out a way to really start making that communication more real and rampant.
Okay, Jennifer, what I've been doing constantly was giving out the helpline number, the 716-816-7100 number, the helpline, so that the parents can reach out. And also, these are some parent groups that I have spoken with, and some people over the radio waves that talk about the challenges that they have. Now, knowing that our parents, English parents, from here are having difficulties, helping with classwork and coursework. These parents that doesn't speak English or have very little English abilities or knowledge are having a horrible time, trying to get understanding, even though you may explain to them, but they still be puzzled when you finish, they just maybe agreeing or maybe getting just only a part of the work that's going forward. So they have many more challenges than what we have, and trying to make sure I'm happy with the plan that Dr. Cash and the district have put together to work with these parents, and I'm glad they're getting special attention. But when it comes back to our parent groups, they report back saying that these parents are still having these type of challenges or frustrations. I understand, what type of mental discourse it'll have upon them and their families.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my concern with 17A is that I'm very curious to see what they're billing us for. I'm curious to see where our greatest needs and how that data is being used, Dr. Cass. When we look at this, we have more than doubled their allotment, which ultimately means that there's a greater need. So I'm just curious to see what our needs are, an assessment of how, are we using it for the interpretive sake? Are they calling after hours? I'm just curious to see what does it really look like? A tip, that they are justifiably receiving over $100,000 a year from the district in the future. I'm just curious about that. That's my ask, because I think in there is a lot of information that can help us understand the needs of our population. Okay, so that's all I'm asking for, is to find out a little bit more about the billing and what are they billing us for, because I want to make sure that we're, that we're getting our bang for our buck here. I just want to remind board members that you, on your camera, under your camera on your laptops, you do have the ability to turn your camera off and then come back on if you should decide to, leave the table or want to eat or something. You have that ability so that we can continue to have this meeting, as professionally as we possibly can under the circumstances. Thank you so much. All right, so are there any other questions with our consent agenda?
Yes, I
Okay.
had sent in a question.
Yes, what is it?
My question was about the audit committee, about the, my question was about the award of the contract for the external audit services. And I had sent the question in saying that there are several internal control issues that have cost Buffalo Public Schools millions of dollars, such as the engineering staff being independent contractors, such as the management of extracurricular funds, grant control issues. There's been a number of issues. So my question was, now that we have a new auditor, will they focus and alert us to weaknesses so we can avoid wasting millions of dollars paying for management issues, or at least make us aware of these problems so we can come up with an answer and a plan for problems that they point out to us. And Madam President, I also was going to send an address request to you that I would like to be assigned to the audit committee, since they're the ones who will work with these the external auditors and are directing them, because I don't want any more surprises that cost us millions of dollars.
I need some clarity on that from staff. I'm not familiar with the audit committee. Jaron Brown, can you help us with this?
So let me adjust the first point Ms. Woods brought up, because Jeff was able to answer that, and he explained that the external auditors are one component of a larger system, including, internal auditors, external auditors, district staff, the board, and state auditors that all play a role. And we do expect the new auditors, as you will see on there, to review all past audits, utilize the newness with us to not only take anything for granted and to hopefully ask the tough questions on our current district practices and find ways for us to improve our processes, to Ms. Wood's point. The second point about the audit committee, I will look in the policies about committee formation. I believe the audit committee is one of them that is allowable, and then we can see, and I will share that information with Board President Kottman about that.
I would appreciate that, because as I said, I've worked with the county on several of these issues, and they worked through them, but they didn't get hit with $2 and $3 million bills. So
okay,
I'm concerned.
So let's frame that, because this is a public meeting, and I don't want anyone to think that what you're talking about is new news. This is something that the board encountered as a result of an audit a while back, and that it has since been addressed. So I want to be clear that this is not new news. Okay? I want the people to understand
Thank you for that, Sharon, because the issue with the engineers and custodians is almost 100 years old, colleagues. I don't want you to get the impression that we're overlooking or not finding things that have impacted district. This issue with the IRS, that was a surprise to us, but we managed through it. We took care of it. So these things do happen in a large, complex school system. But I'm with your board president on how to frame those so that the public is clear. But thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Woods. Certainly, if a committee is available and there's an audit opportunity, I have no problem pointing you to that or having the board discuss that. Any other questions in regards to our consent agenda? Nate Kuzman, are you there?
I am.
Okay, are you ready to move forward then?
Yes, I am, Madam President. With a roll call
Thank you.
vote on the consent agenda, how do you vote, Dr. Kathy Evans Brown?
No exceptions.
Mr. Hurd?
No exceptions.
Ms. J?
No exceptions.
Mr. Posey?
No exceptions.
Mr. Petrucci? I'm going to abstain from 11A, and I have an exception to 20A. Dr. Rivera?
No exception.
Mr. Scott?
No exceptions.
Ms. Woods?
No exceptions.
President Belton County?
Exception 9A, line 162. Recuse myself from that. Personal family member is the reason.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda passes, President Common.
Thank you so much. Moving forward, this is the time, because we don't have executive session today, that if there are any other things that the board would like to discuss while we're here, other than that, we will move forward to close the meeting. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to share at this point? You
I don't.
okay, Dr. Cash, as well? I'm sorry, who was that? Who spoke up? Oh, that was Kathy, said you don't, okay. All right, if there's no other business, can we all stand in agreement that this board meeting is concluded? Thank you. Good luck and stay safe to everyone out there. Know that we are all standing together and all of us have the same concerns and fears. And the reason that I took the time to wear this mask for the entire meeting is that, Dr. Cash, please make sure our staff is wearing masks. Please make sure that you are wearing it, and please encourage people in the community to wear it. I'm out here and I can't believe how people are not practicing safe practices. So please encourage people to do that, board members, your constituents, because this virus is a monster. It is not a beast, as the governor said. I disagree with him. A beast has a heart. We can go after it. Maybe we can even attack it. This thing is so minute that we can't see it. It is a monster, and we have to learn how to fight it. Dr. Cash, realistically, what this data is showing is that 76 days out, almost 80 days out of being on a lockdown and quarantine is when this virus can be controlled. So for us to be at the point where we cannot move forward and save $30 million this year after having money reduced from us is a little bit concerning. And I'm going to ask groups such as Citizen Action and Quality Alliance for Education or whatever, if they want something to help advocate with us on, because we had meetings with them recently over the phone, this is an issue we need help with. Stop playing the game and just admit that we are in trouble for the next 60 plus days. Okay? Anyone else?
Thank you, Ms. Gottman. That was well stated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agreed.
You guys stay safe and be blessed.
Thank
well.
you. Bye, everybody.
Well.
Be safe.
Good night, everyone.